We're back, and we are back with the 10 o'clock hour, and none other than the GOAT, the greatest, the road warrior, the man on the streets. Look out. Mikey G, Mike Gallagher. He's here by popular demand. The studio audience has been sitting here since 9:30 waiting for you.
The audience is going wild.
They're going wild.
Yep. Yep.
There it is. The audience is going wild. Nice. The reason for your pain, if it's in your bones, well, Mike's going to give you the lowdown, right, Mike?
All about your bones.
All about your bones. Take it away, G.
Thanks, Joe. The godfather himself of nutrition. So thank you, Joe. I appreciate being here. It's always a pleasure, a privilege. I've been here through all 99 of these events. I've been here. I think I'm the only one who can say that. And Joe Messina, of course. So, again, it's always been an honor. We do these talks to help educate. So I'm here all week to help answer questions. Any type of condition, we're not making any claims, of course. We're not telling you to get off any medication, of course. But we can really dramatically help you. And one of the topics that we get asked a lot about is bones and bone issues. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about today about that, just kind of give you a little bit behind the scenes. We know, again, every supplement company has a calcium formula, right? And everybody says they're the greatest. But is it really the case? Okay. So we're going to talk about that. So I pulled up right off our website, nutritionalfrontiers.com, one of our consumer health alerts. So on the website, if you go to the tab alert, and then on the left-hand side will pop up about calcium. And we have a bunch of different, whether it's blood pressure, whether it's pain meds. We have many of these. And these are very, very helpful and educational, and that's why we use them. So let's go through the bone one here. So again, we start out with some facts. So the first is 1 out of 2 females, but 1 out of 8 males will suffer some type of osteoporotic fracture in their lifetime. So a lot of females know this and are being proactive taking calcium, but a lot of males are not. So again, especially the older you get, this should be on your radar. Isn't, again, just being proactive as much as possible. So we want to emphasize that. Second, there's 2 types of osteoporosis, postmenopausal and senile. And typically, peak bone mass occurs around 30, and then it's all downhill after that, okay? No, it's not downhill. It's never too late to regrow bone, okay? But your natural peak bone mass usually is around 30. What the number one thing that we can do to help with your bones before we do any vitamins is resistance weight-bearing exercise, okay? It's the most important thing for anybody to do. It's not just for your muscles. It is for your bones, and you have to be consistently doing it. And we're not asking you to, to be a professional bodybuilder and look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? We want to just do higher reps of weight resistance or band training, okay, of working your muscles. Higher reps, 10 reps or more. So it's critically important as well to exercise, not just for your muscles, but for your bones. Obviously, we want to eat a healthy lifestyle. Again, organic, grass-fed, know your sources, hormone-free, right? All that goes without saying, but that's always the first step. Because we can recommend the greatest supplement in the world, but if you are not doing these other things, we're just kind of spinning in neutral, okay? So we always want to do as part of a program, and that, of course, is really important with your bones. Okay, so when we look at this chart here, this really does a fantastic job of looking at the absorbability of the majority of calcium supplements on the market, okay? So let's start with the bottom. If we walked into chain stores that start with a W and promote being the cheapest around, not to mention any names, okay? But what they carry, or your dollar stores and things like this, What they sell as far as calcium is known as calcium carbonate. And this is the cheapest of the cheap. And that's why they sell them at those places. But what they don't tell you is how poorly absorbable they are, and does it contain any of the cofactors here, such as magnesium into 1 ratio, vitamin D3, K2, any type of growth factors there in minerals, right? Typically the answer is no. And look at the absorbability aspect of this, only 1 to 8%. And we're being very kind here when we say 8%, because I've looked at a lot of studies on calcium carbonate, and I've only found two that actually say 8. All the others are 1 to 3%. So the question is, where does the other 97 to 99% go? Okay. Some of it we excrete, okay, when we urinate. Some of it, though, can end up as kidney stones. Okay. So if a person does have a kidney stone, we actually would recommend our kidney and bladder tincture, organic tincture. We would do 1 dropper full, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay, so 3 servings a day, along with magnesium citrate, called mag citrate, 2 breakfast and 2 dinner. Okay, and avoid all red meat, all meat. Think soups and salads. Okay, but it can really help speed the process up if you have a kidney stone. Okay, kidney and bladder tincture, which is a liquid. You drink it, 1 dropper full, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and magnesium citrate, mag citrate, 2 breakfast, 2 dinner. Okay, so that's one possibility of taking the cheap stuff, calcium. A second possibility is it can cause bone spurs, because that calcium doesn't get to where it should go, builds up in your blood. It can cause bone spurs. The other thing, as I mentioned, is it also can build up in your bloodstream. So if you do a lab test with a doctor and it shows you have elevated calcium in the blood, you know, typically the allopathic medical doctor is going to say, stop taking your calcium. That's the wrong answer, folks. The right answer should be, the right response should be, stop taking your crappy calcium. Okay, but 99% of medical doctors don't know the difference in the different forms. They have no training or background of it in med school, so how are they going to educate you on it, right? So again, that's the cheap stuff, the calcium carbonate. Now, if you have bone spurs or elevated blood in elevated calcium in your blood, do a lab test. Very simply, just recommending Super K2, 2 capsules a day of Super K2 can break up a bone spur, and it can dramatically push that calcium that's in the blood. It'll push it into the bones, which is what we want, or it will excrete the rest. But either way, it will help with elevated calcium in the blood. Okay, we'll talk more about Super K2 in a minute. Has many, many, many benefits. This is just one of them. So it might not pertain to you, but someone in your family, a friend, a relative, and if they have bone spurs or elevated calcium in the blood or kidney stones, the first question I'm asking them, what type of calcium are you taking? First question. Second question, how much dairy are you consuming? And is it clean, grass-fed, or hormone-free, antibiotic-free, or is it commercial dairy? Because that also plays a factor with these situations as well. Okay? So here's another example among thousands of examples that we talk about is that people think they're doing the right thing. They're going to the store, they're spending their hard-earned money on purchasing calcium, and they're buying the cheaper stuff because they're trying to save a few dollars. But in the long run, it actually costs them, and it can actually do more harm than good. And even if it doesn't do any harm, it's what you're basically wasting, eliminating it. It's not even working, okay? So not the best kind is calcium carbonate. You want to avoid that at all costs. Then we go up a ladder, calcium citrate. So this is more popular with other supplements. And typically at pharmacies, calcium citrate, and usually there's no cofactors in there. Again, no magnesium, no D3, no K2, no growth factors. And look at the absorbability, folks. Only 55% absorbable. So that still means 45% is either getting excreted or can end up harming you. okay? Calcium citrate. So that's still not the answer. What do we use? We use what's called MCHC, okay? So if we go right above it, in the paragraph right above it, this fifth sentence down, MCHC stands for this long sounding name, microcrystalline hydroxyapatite compound. So MCHC is a lot easier to say, okay? This is not new. This is not a new discovery. This has been around for over 30 years. However, majority of people have never heard of it, including doctors have never heard of it. There's some doctors I talked to in the last couple months because I work with a lot of different practitioners, and including naturopaths who went to 4-year naturopathic school, who learned supplements and vitamins and herbs every day for 4 years and then has been out in the field for 10 years. She never heard of MCHC. She was shocked about it. And again, we see this every day. So if doctors aren't, nutritionists and naturopaths aren't aware of MCHC, how's the general public? And I bet if we did a little survey, Phil, and we asked 1,000 women, can you tell me what MCHC calcium is? How many would say yes? The majority would say no, never heard of it. Okay, but that is what we're using. Okay, so this type of calcium is derived from purified animal bone and is rich not only in calcium but also phosphorus and other natural factors. There are many studies, hundreds of studies that show MCHC's effect of reducing and preventing bone loss. Okay, so ours, which we'll talk about in a second, SuperCal Plus, has the right ratio of magnesium in it, in addition to the MCHC, has the D3, has the K2, and has the growth factors. And look at the absorbability, folks. 95% absorbable, almost twice as much as the next one out there. Okay, so that is what you should be looking for on the label. Okay, hopefully it's our formula, but that's what you should be looking at. If you're not using MCHC in the world of calcium, folks, you are wasting your money and it could do more harm than good. Okay, so let's scroll down to this. So there have been a lot of myths and rumors out there in the last couple years regarding calcium affecting the heart, okay? And what they're not telling you, that's the cheap stuff. That's the bad stuff. So we talk about a lot of studies that have been done by Dr. Gabby and many other studies that have shown that taking this form of calcium will not interfere with your heart, okay? So there's the SuperCal Plus. Oops. Wait a minute, Phil, something happened here. Okay, we got it down. Sorry about that. Something popped there. So here's the SuperCal Plus right here. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Okay, that will be our number one. If you can only do one supplement, afford one thing, this would be it, SuperCal Plus. Okay, we'll talk about it more in detail in a second. There's the Super K2. So if a person, again, has those issues we discussed, or there are other bone loss or fracture issues, if you add the Super K2 to the SuperCal Plus, the two of them work together as a dynamic duo, and you're going to get even faster, quicker results. Okay, so who doesn't want faster, quicker results? And I'll mention a few incredible cases through the years with these formulas here at the end, where we've helped people dramatically speed up the healing process, or even if they had osteoporosis, dramatically help with that. But there's one other thing that is not discussed, and that is low stomach acid. Okay, and low stomach acid can interfere with calcium absorption. So with this, why do people get low stomach acid? Well, obviously foods, right? If you're if you don't eat that many fruits and vegetables, especially green leafy vegetables, that can be one issue. But another big problem with low stomach acid is known as the drugs, proton pump inhibitors. And this would even include, even though technically Tums is not a proton pump inhibitor, it actually does interfere with stomach acid as well. But your typical proton pump inhibitors, Nexium, Prozac, Zantac, which, by the way, has been shown to have cancer-causing chemicals in it and still being sold today. The FDA did warn people about this. I still see it in pharmacies, Zantac, by the way. So in the past, I remember years ago, they used to advertise Tums as helping out with your stomach and your bones. Well, folks, that was a lie. Okay, that does not help your bones. In fact, it hurts your bones. It interferes with calcium absorption. So if you're on these drugs, Tums, Nexium, Prilosec, for more than 2 weeks, 14 days, what happens, folks, is it starts destroying your stomach acid. And you become dependent on that drug, right? Now, we know this. The allopathic medical doctors don't know anything else to do because they have no training in nutrition. So they say, well, keep taking it. Nothing else we can do to help you with your GERD or your GI upset, okay? So we can definitely help you with that, folks. Here, again, Probzyme would be my number one. Can be used as a natural Tums. You would take one with each meal, but if you're coming down with a acid reflux or heartburn or indigestion, you take 2 at once. Wait 15 minutes. If you don't feel 100% relief, then you take 2 more, and you should be within the next 15 minutes. So that's like a natural Tums, okay? It can also be what we call nutritional bridging. Again, you always want to work with your practitioner, not telling you to get off any drugs, of course, but taking Probzyme along with our GI Complete, we've helped thousands and thousands of people being able to transition off of Nexium and Prilosec. And again, depending on how long you've been on it, how strong a dose you're using, can take anywhere, it's several months, 1 month to 3 months, but we can help, okay? So the issue, though, is the calcium absorption here when it comes to bones, which they never talk about, is how those drugs interfere with your calcium absorption. So this is another question I always ask anybody who's been on these drugs, okay, for more than 2 weeks. Or, if they come, to us and say, do you have osteoporosis or osteopenia? This is one of the things we look at. Have you been on these drugs? Okay, and it's a direct effect, side effect is calcium absorption. Okay, so why do we have Betazyme in here? Because Betazyme has betaine. So I think it's in one of these here. Here we go. So I pulled it up already. This is the text sheet on Betazyme. Now, we can use Betazyme a lot of different ways, folks, okay? But why we're mentioning it for low stomach acid is because betaine. So betaine actually helps replenish low stomach acid. So that's why it's pictured on that formula right there to help with that. But this also has other enzymes in here as well. Pepsin and glutamic acid, gentian root, pancreatin, but it also has ox bile. And ox bile is fantastic for your gallbladder. So if your gallbladder is not functioning 100%, or if you haven't had it removed, okay, this would be our number one formula for not having a gallbladder. Because what is the function of a gallbladder is to break down fat, excessive fat. So whether it's good fat or bad fat, your body has a difficulty majority of the time breaking down fat. So sometimes here at the clinic or through the years, we've had cases where we're recommending omega-3 fish oil or omega-3D or the new SPM, and they say, oh, I can't do that. And I'm like, why? Oh, every time I take fish oil, it comes back up. I get indigestion, burps, things like that. I'm like, well, are you taking our fish oil or some of the others? Well, most of the time it's others. But, so I always say, well, let's start with ours because ours is much cleaner fish oil, number one. But number two, if it ever does occur, if they say yes, it has happened to me with using your omega-3D, the number one question I ask them, do you have a gallbladder? And 99 times out of 100, they'll say no. How did you know? And this is how I know. Because the main function of your gallbladder is to break down fats. And if you've had it removed, there's nothing there that will help break down fats, whether good or bad. So this formula will take the place of your gallbladder because of the ox bile in this formula. And we would just take one with the last bite of each meal, and it is a game changer. If you don't have a gallbladder, or your gallbladder's not functioning, especially though if you don't have it, you will notice usually overwhelmingly 99.9% of the population, they'll say they'll feel a difference in just 1 or 2 meals, folks. And just keep in mind, there are cases where you do need to get your gallbladder removed. If it's infected, right, I get it, but keep in mind with the hospital, not one of the most profitable surgeries at a hospital is removing your gallbladder, because it costs thousands of dollars. Normally your insurance covers it, right? It's 30 minutes for the surgeon, making over $10,000 plus for the hospital. It's pretty good work, right? Pretty good racket. And the majority of the time, folks, I've seen it through the years, they did not need their gallbladder removed. Very few cases are actual infections. Very few cases are that where it does need removed. A lot of times, so what's not functioning? We got to remove it, right? And they never tell you about the long-term side effects of not having your gallbladder. So quick to remove, right? So again, you will have challenges. The majority of people without gallbladder will have challenges breaking down fat. So this is where this formula works. So not only on the betaine for low stomach acid, but also on the ox bile as well, and some of the other digestive enzymes we're using. Okay, so that's a little behind the scenes in the world of gallbladder issues. Okay, so let's go back to where our focus is, calcium. And again, this is our number one. This is our bread and butter, Super Cal Plus. If you can only do one thing, this would be it. So let's talk a little bit about it. Now, again, this text sheet, you can find this on the website. Just type it in under the search, and you go to the professional tab, and then right underneath that, this will pop up. Click on that, this will pop up the text sheet and go to the second page. So this paragraph right here, folks, is also really amazing. Okay, so bone consists of inorganic and organic matrix. The inorganic matrix is approximately 75% of dry weight of bone, is mainly calcium hydroxyapatite crystals. It is what is responsible for providing the bone's ability to withstand impact and falls. So we're feeding the bones exactly what it needs to withstand impact, the inorganic matrix. That is really what MCHC is, the inorganic matrix of your bone. Okay? Very interesting. The organic matrix of bone is composed of collagen, approximately 90%, chondroitin and glycoprotein growth factors. So if we go up to our another formula, HA+, okay, the capsules. So this is collagen. So HA+, we position it for joint pain, arthritis, hair, skin, and nails. But the other important, incredible thing about HA+ is it also will help with your bones. It's feeding the bones 90% of your organic matrix. Okay, so I just want to point that out as well here. Again, we would do, if you're in pain at all, any type of joint pain issues, we would start with a loading dose 6 a day. Once it's relieved, we back it down to 2 a day. Okay, but if you have osteopenia, osteoporosis, any bone loss issues, I would do 6 a day until we get the condition under control. Okay, so I just want people to realize that the HA+ has many benefits. It's not just for joints, it also is for bones. And this paragraph right here tells us that. Okay, so again, a lot of people don't know this. That's why we're sharing this with you. It's right on our text sheet. A lot of doctors don't know this, what the bone consists of. You would be shocked, right? So again, we just are educating. This is your free classroom on the air today. Okay, now let's break this down. We have 2 options on the SuperCal. We have a tablet or we have a capsule. This is one of the rare things in Nutritional Frontiers line that we actually have both, a tablet and a capsule. It's also one of the rare times that I would strongly recommend the tablet, simply because it's stronger. Doesn't mean you can't do the capsule, all right? But you have to take more of the capsule. And we'll talk about that dosage here in a minute of what we're referring to, okay? So let's break down the tablets first. Per 2 tabs, MCHC, best of the best absorbable form of calcium. You're getting 400 milligrams. See, everybody see that? Okay. Let's go down to the capsules. Per 2 capsules of the SuperCal caps, you're getting 200 milligrams. Okay. 200. The tablets are twice as strong. Simply because we ran out of room. Again, there's only so much space you can put in a capsule. But with a tablet, you can compress more. And as long as we're testing to make sure you're breaking it down and absorbing, which we do testing for it within 30 minutes, okay, then it's fine. It's fine, okay? So that's one thing, reason why I recommend the tabs. The other, right underneath the calcium in the tablets, is betaine. So we just talked a minute ago about betaine in the Betazyme. Well, guess what, folks? It's in your tablets, SuperCal tablets. Okay, it's not in the capsules. Again, we just simply ran out of space and room. So if you're on those proton pump inhibitors, hopefully you're not. If you're on Tums, Nexium, or Prilosec for more than 2 weeks, if you have low stomach acid, the tablets actually has the betaine already in it. So we don't need to do additional Betazyme. It's got you covered. But it's not in the capsules, again, because we ran out of room. Does that make sense? Okay. In addition to that, we have all the other cofactors with the magnesium in the right ratio, 2-to-1 ratio, a little bit of D3 in here, a little bit of K2, boron and copper, also fantastic. By the way, copper is excellent as well for your collagen, as well for your skin, not just your bones. Okay. So all your cofactors, not just the calcium. Now, here's how we would dose this, depending on your situation. And again, folks, this is just what we're recommending, okay? Not telling you to get off any medication, okay? But if you're just taking this for prevention, no bone issues whatsoever, okay? No osteopenia, no bone loss, we would recommend 2 of the tablets or 4 of the capsules a day with food, okay? So again, this is the reason why I recommend the tablets. It's going to last twice as long. You can still do the caps. Just got to make sure we take the right amount. Okay? So they both come in 120 size. They're both the same price. So if you're doing the tablets and you don't have any bone issues whatsoever, the tablets are a 2-month supply. The capsules are only a 1-month supply. So keep that in mind. Can still do the caps, but we just have to go through twice as fast. Okay. Now, let's say you have bone issues. If you have osteoporosis or osteopenia, okay? So that's a more serious condition. We strongly recommend that you need to be more aggressive with the supplements for it to help. So if you have those bone loss issues, and again, might not be you, might be a friend or family member or neighbor, right? But you want to, we recommend 4 a day of the tablets, 2 breakfast, 2 dinner, or 6 a day of the capsules if you have osteoporosis or osteopenia, okay? So, again, with food, in divided dose with the tabs, 2 breakfast, 2 dinner. With the caps, you can break it up, 2, 2, and 2, or 3 and 3, okay? But that is the dosage that we get the best results with. Now, let's say you slipped and you fell and you fractured something, broken, any type of current fracture. We need to be even more aggressive if you have a fracture. So with the tablets, we would recommend 6 a day. With the capsules, 8 a day until that fracture's been healed. But it will dramatically speed up the healing process if you have a fracture. And I'm going to mention a couple cases here in a minute, which we've seen some incredible results with this, okay? So that delves into the world of calcium and what you should be looking for in a bottle, why we use what we use, and all the other aspects of this. Does that make sense? Okay. Again, it's all featured this week on special here at the Wellness Cell. Okay. World of Wellness, right? So, formerly called Wellness Center. Okay. So, if you've never tried this before, give it a chance. Give it a chance. Okay. It should not cause any GI upset whatsoever because it is so absorbable. Now, the other thing, too, I want to talk about briefly here is the medication side, the drug side of osteoporosis and osteopenia. So those drugs are known as the bisphosphonates. Okay. So the original one was Fosamax. Fosamax. And then there have been other drugs that have come out since. Okay. But what these bone drugs really do, folks, is they keep whatever bone you have intact. Okay. But it doesn't regrow any bone. And technically, a dead bone weighs more than a healthy living bone. And over time, if you continue to take these drugs that they promote as being beneficial for your bones, it can actually cause a condition called osteonecrosis, which stands for jawbone death. And once the bone is dead, we can't bring it back to life. So it's right on the warning label of these drugs is may cause osteonecrosis. But no one knows what that means. But what it means is jawbone death. So the first group of doctors to actually start seeing this is dentists. And they start when they were pulling out teeth or working on your teeth, okay? And people are on these medications, these drugs, their jawbone started to fall apart, okay? So if you go to a dentist now and you're on those drugs, sometimes they won't even work on you whatsoever. Number two is they'll have you sign a bunch of release forms so they're not sued when your jawbone disintegrates in front of them. And I was talking to another office last month, and one of the staff there, she works part-time in a dentist office, and she said she's seen so many horror stories of especially older people, 60s, 70s, 80s, who believed their medical doctor and did what they thought was right in taking these drugs, and now they're paying for it. They have osteonecrosis, and they can't bring it back to life, right? Now, the dentist typically won't say anything because he gets referrals from the medical doctor. So he just sticks his head in the sand and pretends nothing's wrong, except he won't work on you, or you got to sign a bunch of waivers, okay? So since the original Fosamax, there have been other drugs out there that are like this, all right? And I've asked doctors, medical doctors I work with, you know, if it also says right there on the insert, you still need to supplement with calcium and vitamin D. And I always ask a doctor, if this is such an amazing drug, why do you still need to take a supplement with if it's preventing and treating the condition you're working with? And not one doctor can answer me, folks. They don't know. They've been lied to and deceived by the big pharma, right? So this is one of the biggest scams in the history of healthcare. Not saying something, is these bisphosphonate drugs like Fosamax. There's some pharmacists that I work with that they nickname Fosamax. Fosamax is the nickname because that is what they're really doing. They're fossilizing your bones and making you more fracture prone. And we've talked to many people here who even, at the 60, 70, 80, who fractured their bone before they even fell and hit the ground. That's how weak their bones were, okay? So, again, this is my take on it. You can find this information out there. We have information here that we can show you regarding this, but these bone drugs do not work, number one, and they actually make your bones worse. It does the exact opposite of what you do. And now there's kind out there that you do a shot once a year, right? So a lot of people don't even put that on their intake form as they're taking bone drugs because they forget about it because it's once a year, okay? It's still harmful. This is way better for you, okay? So that's on the Super Cal. That's a little bit on the medication side. Now, let's go to Super K2, okay? Super K2 Plus. Again, right there, folks, bones, absorption cardio. So I just want to start out with K. There's two different forms of K, main forms. There's a lot of different Ks, but two different major forms, K1 and K2. K1 can be found in your green leafy vegetables, okay? Salads, as long as they're, fresh salads, not the chain store kind, right? But green leafy vegetables, broccoli, spinach, kale, things like that. K2 can only be found in grass-fed beef and fermented foods like sauerkraut. Real sauerkraut that kind of takes 3 days to make sauerkraut, okay? Not commercial sauerkraut, okay? So most people are extremely K2 deficient. And what does K2 does? It does two really major things. It prevents atherosclerosis, the hardening of your arteries, and osteoporosis. Okay? Two really big things. And 99% of the population is very K2 deficient. Okay? Now, a lot of people say, well, it's just becoming mainstream now, K2. But a lot of people know vitamin C, and Linus Pauling won a Nobel Prize in the 50s for vitamin C. But before that, folks, in the 30s, there were two doctors who won the Nobel Prize for their research on vitamin K, Dr. Dam and Dr. Dorsey. And I always have to remind doctors about this because they forget that vitamins actually won Nobel Prizes back in the day. So there's tremendous amount of research on K1 and K2. Thousands of studies on the benefits, but those are the two main ones. Now, from a supplement standpoint, it's really difficult to make K2, okay? A lot of people don't think about this, but we do, obviously, right? So K2 can only be made from a supplement from a fermentation process, okay? There's only a few manufacturers in the world that can make K2 because the technology is so advanced, okay? So anybody who company says it claims they make their own K2, that's a lie. Nobody does. They all have to get it outsourced. And we looked at every supplier out there. We tested every supplier out there. And the supplier that had the most research, the best testing out there was this one. It's called Vita MK7. All right, it is from Gnosis, which is an Italian and German supplier. They also make a few of our other formulas. They make our Saccharomyces boulardii, SBC, which is a probiotic from yeast. So there's a fermentation process being used there, and they're using some of that technology on the probiotic side. And then we're using the rest on the K2 side, okay? They also make our folate form, quadrifolate. So they make quite a few things. The tremendous reputation out there in the industry. But this is the best of the best in the world of K2, folks. This is the real deal K2. Now, if it's the best, why doesn't every supplement company use this? Because it's the most expensive. And so a lot of companies cut corners on their vitamins. K2 is no different. But this is what you should always look for. So if you're buying K2 from anywhere else, if it doesn't say vitamin K7, it's not the real deal, okay? Now, the other thing that I want to point out to on the label here, the K2 is we're using 500 micrograms per capsule, okay? I've looked at a lot of K2 on the market from other supplement companies. The majority, when I say majority, 99% of them, it's not vitamin K7, and they're only using 125 micrograms. This is 5 times stronger. And to get the best benefits of K2, you need it to be this strong, okay? In addition, we have 5,000 IUs of vitamin D3 per capsule. So if you're taking this, you don't need any extra vitamin D. We got you covered. But when you combine vitamin A with vitamin D3, with K2, with this magnesium, it's the most absorbable way to get your vitamin D. So let me share a quick story. I'm in an office last month, and one of the ladies there, the staff, she was trying to raise her vitamin D. Where she started with was 30 on the vitamin D chart, okay? She did just straight D3, 10,000 IUs for 3 months. It takes 3 months to change a blood test for vitamin D. So she did 10,000 IUs for vitamin D. It went from 30 to 40, okay? She then switched to our Super K2, did 2 a day. There's your 10,000 IUs of vitamin D, 2 a day for 3 months, retested, went from 40 to 80 in 3 months, Okay? That's where we'd like you to be for your vitamin D, between 70 and 100 on the vitamin D blood test. Okay? Where does the allopathic doctor want you to be at? 30. Okay? Where 99% of the studies that it can help you, between 70 and 100. Okay? So they'll say on the blood work, anywhere from 30 to 100 is optimal for vitamin D, which always strikes me as funny, because how can something be 3 times more still be in the same range? But it is for vitamin D. Okay? So if I had my choice between straight vitamin D and Super K2 with the D3 and the A, this would be it. Okay? Because now you're getting all the extra benefits of K2, as well as the D3 and the vitamin A and the magnesium. Okay? So here's how we dose this, folks. Very simply. If you don't have any issues at all, just basic prevention, 1 a day in the summer, 2 a day in the winter. That is what's recommended in our world for vitamin D. You do need 10,000 IUs in the winter because, again, a lot of viruses going on. We all know that. But just overall, a lot of things. Our immune system is a little bit weaker in the winter too, not getting the vitamin D from the sun, of course. So that is what's recommended, 1 or 2 a day, just basic prevention. If you have osteoporosis or osteopenia, right, any bone loss issues, any fracture of any kind, current fracture, or elevated calcium in the blood, or bone spurs. So we have a couple new people just came here. If you have elevated those issues, taking 2 a day of Super K2 will dramatically help all those issues. And when you combine them with the Super Cal Plus on the calcium side, you're going to get extraordinary results, faster, quicker results. Okay? So I've seen a lot of K2 on the market. There's not one like this out there. Nobody has the strength, the form, and the other things that we're using in this. So this is really something I strongly recommend that every person should take this. Okay? Super K2. Now, I'm going to share with you a couple quick stories. Now, I have the unique case, not just working here during the events, but also a lot of other practices around the country and around the state of Pennsylvania. And I talk to all different types of doctors, medical doctors, and some hospitals I work with. I work with DOs. I work with pharmacists, chiropractors, nutritionists, you name it. Okay, and so I have a unique experience of working with all these different situations and hear all different kinds of cases, and so that's why I feel very, I feel I can really help with any type of situation, because I'm educating the doctors on these things, so I know I can help you, okay? So I had a case 3 years ago, okay? We've helped thousands of people through the years, including Dr. Weiner. When Dr. Weiner broke his wrist many years ago, he just did Super Cal at the time. We didn't even have Super K2, and he'd healed his broken wrist within 3 weeks, and he talked about it on his radio show for months after, okay? I think at the time he was 62 at the time. Healed his broken wrist. But I've had other cases similar to Dr. Weiner's. So one case was about 3 years ago. It was a chiropractor female. She was 57 at the time. She was working on her car, and she slipped, and she fell on her arm and fractured her arm. Okay, so she reaches out to me, said, "What do I take?" I told her exactly what I'm telling you, Super Cal and Super K2. 2 weeks later, she goes and gets an x-ray. They can't find the fracture on the x-ray, meaning it healed for her, a fractured arm for a 57-year-old female, in 2 weeks. The doctor who did the x-ray said, "I've never seen this before." Okay, and she sent me the x-rays to validate this. Okay, so that's one case. Second case, last summer, one of my other accounts was working with a 79-year-old female who's at the pool, slipped, fell on her arm, fractured it. They told her minimum 12 to 16 weeks. He started her on the Super Cal and the Super K2 Plus. And again, folks, not making any claims. 4 weeks. 4 weeks completely healed a 79-year-old female, fractured arm. The doctor who did the test, I've said, "I've never seen this before." Okay? Last case, one of my other accounts. His mom was diagnosed at age 80 with osteoporosis. He reaches out to me. What do we do? Told him exactly what I've told you. Super Cal and Super K2. Okay? She took it religiously every single day until she got retested. Okay? Again, not making any claims, folks. But she doesn't have osteoporosis anymore. She doesn't even have osteopenia. It completely reversed it. Okay? The doctor said, I've never seen this before. If I had a penny for every time I heard that, I'd be a trillionaire. Okay? We've helped thousands of cases with these formulas, all different types of situations. I could give you 1,000 more, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Take the two together and you'll get incredible results. But you got to take the right dosage in order for it to work. Okay? So that, my time is coming up here. Phil, do we have any questions out there in the World Wide Web? Okay. So we are filming this. We are taping this. We are recording this. So again, if you have anybody that wants to hear this, through Nutritional Frontiers page, also through YouTube as well. So anywhere else they can watch this recording? LinkedIn, Nutritional Frontiers LinkedIn. Okay, so again, if you have a family member or friend that is not able to be here but wants to hear this information, it's here. Or have them come down if they're local. Have them come down. We'd love to talk to them more as well. But again, hopefully this makes sense. Do you guys have any questions at all about it? Yes, question? Knee brace? Yep. Right. So I saw you a second ago talking to Jeff Nisnik. Are you working with Jeff? The gentleman who came over in the suit and tie? Yeah, Jeff. Are you working with him? Yeah. Have you showed him, talked to him about your knees? Have you talked to him about it? Right. Did you talk to him about your knees when you did talk to him or meet with him? Okay. So that would be my first step. That's a serious case. So a question in the audience, when a lady, she's older, she has some knee issues. The knee is, she's wearing a knee brace. So she's worked with Jeff Nisnik here before on some other issues, but I asked her if she has worked with him on the knee issues, and she said no. So I do recommend that you see Jeff on that. But again, I'd like to talk to you off air here, and we can also help you as well. Okay? To get a little bit more information regarding your situation. Okay? Any other questions about this or anything else? Okay? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, great question. So there's not really a specific answer on K2 if you're on a prescription blood thinner. There's no legitimate studies that say yes or no. We would need permission just to be on the safe side if you are on a prescription blood thinner working with your PCP or cardiologist. But every other medication with both Super Cal and Super K2 is completely safe, just an hour apart from any other medication. Okay? Yes, everything's 100% gluten-free, soy protein-free. We only have a couple things like our whey and our Neato Keto Shake that's dairy, but it's super clean dairy. They're lactose-free. So, yeah, absolutely. No gluten in any of the formulas. Great questions. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So, again, folks, my time is up. I'll be here all week answering questions here. If you come on down, great specials going on, free food, free samples. Again, but my time is up. We have another speaker coming up at 10, but I'll be in the back if you want to ask me anything right now. So thank you. God bless. And as Joe Messino says, live long and prosper. Bye now.